welcome to Be the Light. I am Denise Rosonia, your show host, and you might have noticed at the bottom of your screen my title has changed a little bit. I've now added Teen Academic Life Coach, so yes, I am getting some training on becoming a Teen Academic Life Coach, and I'm offering some classes now, so be sure to check those out on my website, which is www.denisemrosonia.com. Today we are doing an episode on Twitter 101, and I want to welcome to the show Dr. Craig McCaffrey, who is an assistant principal over at Noblesville High School. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And Rylan Deere, who you guys might remember, who was on earlier in the year talking with us about some questions on Twitter. So welcome back.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And so actually today's show was kind of inspired by you, Rylan, because he taught a class, or is teaching, I don't know if that's an ongoing class.
We've only had one. Okay,
called Twitter 101. And as a parent, I found this quite intriguing, and unfortunately the class itself, from what I remember time-wise, I couldn't get there, but I wanted to hear more about this, and so I'm excited to have you guys here and have you tell us more about this. I guess to start with, where did that even title come from, Twitter 101?
Well, I think that's all Rylan. So I'll let you kind of get to where that came from.
I was just thinking in my head, so we're talking about Twitter, so you have to have Twitter in the title, and we need something easy for a parent to remember, and then like a 100 level courses are your introductory courses. So I'm like, this fits perfectly. We'll just call it Twitter 101.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how did it happen that you guys both got together to create this?
I got it from starting with the high schoolers in the innovations program at the high school. Mr. Wettrick, who leads that program, noticed that last year what he said about Twitter I took to heart very easily, and I experienced this crazy explosive growth over the course of a year on Twitter and my influence there. So he wanted me to come back and teach I taught 2 blocks, what I did over the course of a week. Okay. So when I taught them that, and it was picking up a lot of traffic, he saw me posting about it on Twitter and all the other students that I taught, and then he said, "Why not we do this with parents?" And then we started planning from there.
Okay. So you two specifically worked together then?
Yeah.
And then you created this. Yeah. Was it a workshop maybe?
I would say workshop. Well, one of the big things is we want students to be the leaders and students to be the voice of the school. Yep. And so my role in this was to help with the stuff a student need help with, which is things even like scheduling the room, to being able to send his message out, to advertise to parents, and then to advise. But a bulk of the work and all the presentation was Rylan. I was only there for support purposes because it was something, and he did a phenomenal job, but it's something we definitely needed to do to kind of help parents understand how Twitter worked. Yeah,
absolutely. And anybody that watches this show or knows the stuff that I'm working on, I'm all about empowering our teens. So I just think that's really awesome that you've given him this opportunity. And clearly you have the organizational skills and the follow-through to do it, and it's awesome.
We can call it that, yeah.
So, I guess one question I have for each of you is, what are you specifically using Twitter for? So what are you specifically using it for?
I use it a lot for professional development for myself and for other educators. There's a abundance of resources, quick reads. A lot of times I find something small that leads me to something larger that I need to read, so I use it a lot for that. I use it some for my own personal voice, mostly in regard to education, politics, and those type of things, but mostly it's a resource, or if a teacher needs something, it allows me to find something real quick and send it out to them. I follow a lot of educators, a lot of speakers, those type of things, and so that's kind of my Twitter use at this point.
Okay. Now, what about you, Rylan?
My Twitter use is a little bit differently. He uses a different approach that I've got a name for, and I use something completely different. I use it as a place to showcase work and to call out for help or draw attention to certain things. So, for example, when I post a new blog post on my website, I use Twitter to get those out into the community so that people can find that blog post. Or I will use it to find other authors or find other people who've done play shows or have other people who have taught about social media. So I can get a hold of them and say, hey, what's your tips? What do you think I can do to this better? Hey, look at this. What did you think? Is usually what I use it for.
So what is your typical teenager using Twitter for?
Typical teenager or typical innovator teenager?
Typical teenager.
Typical teenagers like to use it as a place for communicating with friends. That with Twitter, it's a lot of direct messaging, which is like writing a post on Facebook, just a lot shorter.
Right.
They're using that to like call out directly to friends, or they're using the DM feature just to basically text back and forth between
and
friends.
I'm sorry, for old people like me, could you define DM?
DM is direct message, so it's...
I know that now.
Yes.
Other people
Instead
might
of
not know.
posting it so the entire world can see it,
Yeah.
it's a conversation that's set up between yourself and either person A, B, or C, or only A or B and C, blah, blah,
Okay.
blah.
Okay, so like a private message.
Private
then.
message.
Okay, please, will you demystify the hashtag for us?
Hashtag is, like, for example, when you go into Google or Bing and you type in Indiana, blah, 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 that Indiana is considered a hashtag. On Twitter, and Facebook slowly incorporating this, it makes it easier for your post to be searched. So if I say hashtag student probs, anybody that looks up student probs can see that post. Now there's a setting where you can say top tweets, which will show you the ones that are getting the most traction, or you can say all posts and it'll do it by recents. So Twitter is how they boil down the search bar for you guys.
So when you're explaining the hashtag to people, I mean, do you have any, I don't know, kind of rules or something? Because, I mean, some people like hashtag every
everything.
word.
Yeah. Don't hashtag everything. That's a little annoying. It makes it unambiguous what your point is. If you say, for example, you would say your tweet, and at the very end, you would hashtag like the subject it's in. Or if there's like 3 keywords in your 140 characters, you hashtag those 3 keywords. Don't do anything over 3, because then it gets insane.
Okay.
And it's like blah, 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 hashtag, and it's bombarding to look at. When you try to search it, you can't find it.
Okay.
It's just a mess.
So
at
general
that point.
rule 3.
3, no more than 3.
Okay, and it's about the subject. Okay, that's actually really helpful information, because I know, like,
Yeah.
for me, a year ago, I didn't even know what a hashtag was. I mean, in my generation, that was the pound sign.
Yeah.
So people are like, how do you not know what a hashtag is? So I appreciate you explaining that. I do want to thank our show sponsors today, Jim Wofford, the Wofford Theater, and also Chick-fil-A here in Noblesville. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will come back and talk some more about Twitter. Thank you.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Be the Light, and I am your show host, Denise Rizonia, and I want to welcome back Craig McCaffrey and Rylan Deere from Noblesville High School. So welcome back, gentlemen. And we're going to continue our discussion on Twitter and Twitter 101. While we were on break, we were kind of talking about it from, you guys know that I am a parent, and so for me, I kind of found this all overwhelming. I feel like from the media standpoint, we've been made to feel that that Twitter and all this social media is a bad thing, but in a lot of ways it's a good thing. And I think that once we start to kind of demystify all that, we can realize that it's maybe not so scary and not as bad as we thought, and actually understand even why our kids are using it and how to help them use it safely and to help them succeed. So I guess one of the things we were just talking about as far as the media perception, what do you say to that?
It's a a lot of our mainstream news is it seems like the news lead always starts with bad things. So there was someone died over the weekend, there was a car crash, and they never really start with anything good that's going on, and so that's kind of in place this fear into people, and as we were talking about on break, the adults were part of that to catch a predator generation of what we saw on TV and what the internet was used for. We didn't realize all the great things that it can be used for, and like anything else in life, there's always good and bad to it. And so the thing I always tell parents is okay to be concerned, to be afraid, but be curious. People are afraid to start a Twitter account. Like, well, don't have to tweet one thing. You can just follow people. And what's your term you use for people that just follow?
I use them as owls. They just gather wisdom.
Yeah, owls. We do that. You can be information gathering, but you have to see how it works in order to understand and be able to communicate with your child about it.
Okay. So for parents that have a child using Twitter, and I know we kind of got into this with our last conversation, I mean, do you advise that they maybe follow their teens and just kind of...
I would suggest that parents keep touch on their Twitter, their teens or younger children's Twitter basis. There we go. That's hard to say sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
As a parent myself with an 8-year-old who's really into, she doesn't have any social media yet, but she's really into technology. And sometimes teenagers are tougher to communicate with, so this is a chance to actually communicate, another method to communicate with them as well, and to help educate them. And if they post something you're concerned about, it's a good chance to have a conversation about, hey, did you think about when you post this, the whole world gets to see it. It's nothing's ever secret. Once you put it out there, it's out there forever. And so you need to think about that, but they're always good learning experiences as well.
Yeah.
And another good way I have found for the parents to understand what the kid is doing on social media in general, Twitter specifically, is if you have the child teach the parent how to do the setup, because then you know what they know, and then usually in the process they're either on their account or they're setting up your account. So you're going to see who they're going to start to look at. You're going to see what they're tweeting, what they suggest you tweet, and usually that's an easy way to find out of there as well.
Okay. So, as far as who to follow and who not to follow on Twitter, can you kind of elaborate on that?
If you are wanting it for a gathering of knowledge area, you look to follow those people who are trustworthy. So it's like the news stations and the politicians and the blah, 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 blah. It's those people. It's the people who have a high follow count, low follower count. I call them sharks, because if I follow them, I'll never get a follow back. That's who those people to look for. But if you're wanting to be someone who is using it to display your information, you want people to follow you as much as you want to follow them. So you're going to look for people who, in their bio, which is just a quick 140 characters about who they are and what they do, you're going to look for where your interest and their interests line up. So if I was writing a self-published book, I would look at the indie published authors, which are self-published authors, because they're going to be a good place for help. And that's in their bio, and that's how you find out how to follow those.
Okay, now when you say it's in their bio, can you search by a bio?
Bios don't show up unless they have a hashtag in it. That's the only way you can find anything on Twitter, is if they have a hashtag somewhere in a post, in a bio, in their name, in order for you to find them.
Well, and I think this brings up an important point, because for people who are using it for some of the purposes that we've discussed today, you do want to make sure that your bio has good information in it.
Yes.
So use those characters.
Use those characters wisely, and it also reflects your name. If your Twitter handler, which is just your name on Twitter, if it's ridiculous and crazy and out there, for example, we use over at the high school, NHS Cute Cheerleader 3, nobody's going to take that account seriously. Maybe your friends will think it's funny and they'll talk to you back and forth, but if you want to be taken as a professional, you can't use that. Your best bet's just to use your first name, underscore the first letter of your last name, maybe.
Okay. So we've kind of discussed from a social standpoint why some teens would be using Twitter. Why specifically would innovative teens be using it?
A lot of the innovative teens use it as I use it. I am all tongue twisted today. They use it to
It's usually me
showcase.
that's
Yeah,
tongue-twisted.
I've taken your role from you. It usually is a place for them to showcase all of their work. So they want their accounts to be clean. They want their accounts to be professional. They want to go after a lot of followers, so that hopes that they'll have follows back.
Okay.
And they just use it as a showcase. So they post a lot of pictures of them working on projects, which sometimes includes themselves, sometimes it doesn't. And then they'll post a little 140 character subblurb about that picture, and they hope that it draws attention. They'll sometimes we even tag our teacher at Don Wettrick, and then he'll retweet it, and then his thousands of teacher friends will see it, and then we'll gather some attention that way.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you guys have come up with ways to use it really effectively then. Yeah. Are there other, maybe any other tips or advice that you would say parents or teens should know about?
If a parent is concerned with who is following their student or younger child, there is a feature on Twitter called private account. It's in your settings. You can select that, and it makes it so that anytime someone wants to follow you, whoever owns that account has to approve that follow.
Okay.
So for my purposes, that's not good for me because I'll be pushing the accept button 1 million times a day or 26 times. But for a young parent who wants just their kids to be followed by their friends and no more, it's a great idea for that because the parent can see who's on that list and nobody can see what that account is posting without accepted that follow.
Okay, good. I'm glad to know that they have that setting. I know I've seen some rather young children using Twitter, and I've been surprised by that, so I'll have to check with the parents, make sure they know about that feature, because that's great. So I think that really kind of demystifies it for us. I mean, that's maybe not quite as scary as what we parents think it is based on some of the things that we've heard. And so I know I, for one, really appreciate you guys taking time to come down here and talk to us about this. And Rylan, you do have a blog, do you not?
It's a website, but I have a blog on it, yes.
Okay, and so is part of what you will be posting on your blog related to this Twitter?
I have a brief Twitter 101 posted on my blog. It's I think it's called Twitter in EDU ?
Okay.
And it's my personal experience with Twitter and how you can use it in the social and as well as education area.
So for anybody that's watching or listening to today's show, if they would have questions for either of you, how should they contact you?
Well, right now my email is broken, so if I would prefer you go a hold of my Twitter, which is just at capital RYLAN and then capital DER. That's Twitter handler. You can put that in your search bar. Or you can go to my website, which is www.rylanderinc.com, and at the bottom there's a contact me page, and it will send a message to my Twitter so that you don't have to.
And yes, he has his own website, and he's an ink.
Yes.
So, yes.
Ink is in quotes.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So okay.
And for me, my Twitter account's at McCaffrey_Craig. But probably the easiest way for parents is you can get my email address from the high school websites, and I'd be more than glad to work with parents at any level with concerns about their student and how to use social media or technology.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys so very much again.
Thank you. Yeah.
And again, I'd like to thank our show sponsors today, Jim Wofford, the Wofford Theater, and our Noblesville Chick-fil-A, and a moment with guidance counselor Lauri Waldner from Noblesville West Middle School.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Be the Light. I'd like to welcome Lauri Waldner to the show now from Noblesville West Middle School. So welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to talk just briefly here about a pretty awesome recognition that you've gotten here recently, which is the Indiana Middle School Counselor of the Year, and that is from the Indiana School Counselors Administration. So congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
And that was awarded mid-November?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So when did you find out?
Just received a phone call right before fall break and just saying that I'd won the award. And luckily I got the call before I left school so I could kind of like celebrate with my fellow counselors and administrators. So it was good timing. It's nice to receive it.
Now that award is based on nominations, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, and from what I read, correct me if I'm wrong here, you were nominated by a colleague at Butler. Mm-hmm. You were nominated by your school principal, which is Stacy Swan.
No, that was wrong. I was nominated by one of our elementary school counselors and by one of my colleagues at Butler.
Okay, okay, awesome. Well, that's such a wonderful accolade. Sorry. My day is a little off here, I guess, now. Now that Rylan's gone, apparently I'm back to tongue-tied. So, moving on from the award, which again, congratulations on that. We were going to talk a little bit here about some of the things that you've got going on at the school, some of the initiatives you're working on. And the biggest thing I've been hearing about and that I've been reading about is creating a more family-friendly environment. Mm-hmm. I can say, honestly, when I was back in school, I don't ever remember my parents coming to my school. But I know here in Noblesville specifically, we're kind of conditioned to that. Mm-hmm. We're used to having this open door policy where we kind of come in, at least at the elementary level, and then obviously at the middle school level, we kind of need to back off a bit. But can you kind of tell us some of what you guys have been working on?
Well, and you know this as the parent of an elementary school child, that it is a big transition being so involved at the elementary level and then moving up to the middle school level. A couple different things are going on, that your child doesn't want you in the building as much because they want to feel like they're more independent. And also it's such a huge transition developmentally for students. And so I was at the elementary level as a counselor for 22 years, so I knew exactly what it felt like to move from the elementary to the middle school. And once I got to the middle school, I thought, this is such an awesome place that we need to figure out a way that parents want to be more involved, feel more comfortable being involved. So we started discussing something that's called the Family Friendly Initiative, and it just originated, I think, 2 years ago through the state legislature. And it has some guidelines and suggestions of what you can do, and so it has been our focus. And we have a committee at school called Positive Behavior Intervention Support, PBIS, and so we have formed a parent subcommittee of that, and we have taken a teacher's lounge that wasn't used anymore and we've made it a parent lounge. Okay. And Stacy, our principal, wanted it to look kind of like a Starbucks, so we've got casual furniture in there and a high top table with chairs around it, and now we have a place when parents are in the building, that's kind of the go-to spot. And
I'll have to check that out.
It is, it's cool.
I'll be in there tomorrow.
Yeah, please do. And so those parents also came up with an idea, once a quarter, let's have kind of like an open house for parents just to come in, sit with their child's team teachers, because once you get to middle school and high school, you know the teachers' names, but you don't know them as well. So they started that initiative. We just had one in December. The attendance wasn't what we wanted it to be, but we're hoping on it just kind of snowballing.
Well, and how do we help communicate that to the parents? Because I do remember seeing it in the newsletter. I wasn't quite understanding exactly what it was. So
right.
How can we help kind of...
It went out in the newsletter, and then we also sent a parent school messenger out, which can be done either you get a phone call or you get an email, and it's called Team Connection. And so that's how it was advertised this time. We're probably going to do a little more next quarter, where we're actually going to get the teachers more involved with encouraging the students, hey, get your parents involved, get them to come. So we're starting small like that. We started last spring, we had a parent book study for parents of 5th grade students to get them to come in the building. And we read a book, Why Do They Act That Way? A Guide to the Adolescent Brain. And it was such a great way to get those 5th grade parents into the building to become comfortable with it. And some of our PBIS parent committee members came from that book study.
Okay.
So we know it's kind of a mindset that's not going to be changed overnight, but we're working really hard just to get parents to come into our building and feel comfortable.
Yeah, well, that's great to know, and I'll certainly help encourage that as well. And I definitely want to make sure to post about that PBIS, the lounge and all that on my Facebook page, and hopefully we can help kind of pass that out and pass it along to more parents. So tell us some more about this therapy dog, Gus.
Well, he goes through his first test this Saturday, and it's going to be a pilot program. Started asking for permission last May, and our Director of Student Services, Mark Booth, is really taking a leap of faith, and if it's approved by the school board next month, then Gus will start. If he passes, a therapy dog has to go through a series of 3 different tests.
Okay.
And so the pilot program will be that we're going to start off second semester where Gus, who is a Labradoodle, will have very specific kind of jobs with some of our specific groups of students within the building.
Okay.
And with those students, they're going to take some responsibility with him. They're going to do some charting of teaching him a trick and making predictions and coming up with graphs. So there's going to be a little bit of academics tied into it, so he's not just, the fun-loving Gus that they all want to be around. But he's going to be in the guidance area 3 days a week. And there have been so many times, middle school is just such an emotional time. And so he will be available, he'll be in my office, and if there's students who are distraught or upset, and they'll be sent down to guidance, and they'll have the opportunity to be with Gus if they want. There's a lot of hoops we need to jump through, of course, first of all, as far as, allergies and parent permission and, getting all the word out, just from a legal standpoint, having an animal in the building. But he's a great dog, and so we're really hoping that it's all going to be approved by the school board.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. It's when the kids see him, I train with them after school in the building, and when kids are in the building, you would think they have just seen like an apparition of something. It's just like, a dog's here.
I saw him. He came into our art club.
Yes, he did.
Kids loved him.
That was before he was trained.
Yes.
That was his very first day of training.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a pretty big guy.
He is.
Yeah. The kids are going to love Gus.
Yeah.
They loved him that day.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's Gus.
Cool. Yeah. So good deal. Well, this all sounds really good. So basically we want to make sure that parents understand then that there are initiatives being worked on to kind of make this more family-friendly environment. And I think, at least from my perspective, I've heard from some parents that there's maybe what's a misconception is that they're not welcome in the middle school, when in fact they are. And so we will definitely make sure to get that information out there and keep parents posted, and come on in, see where your kids go to school.
And any parent who wants to get involved, if they can contact me at the middle school, we'll find ways for them to be involved. We want parents to be in with us and with the kids.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and helping to open that communication up, and we'll definitely keep it going. So thank you everybody so much for tuning in today to Be the Light. We have changed our schedule, so there will not be a show next week, but there will be one the following week at 3 o'clock, and we'll be discussing concussions on that episode. Jim, stop laughing at me.
That's hard to say that 3 times. Yeah. Discuss concussions. Well.
So thank you so much for tuning in.
How did they get hold of you?
Oh, me? Or Lauri, sorry. Gosh.
Either one. Or
Lauri,
both.
would you like to go ahead and give your contact information?
It's Lauri, Lauri, _Waldner, WALDNER, at, and then it's the regular Noblesville Schools address. I also, it's at Waldner West for the Twitter account, but you're probably better off either calling the school, emailing me. I keep my email up all the time.
Okay. And as far as reaching me, you are welcome to email me. I am Denise Rezonia, DREZONYA@gmail.com, so drezonia@gmail.com. You can certainly call me anytime at 317-200-2511, or check out my website, which is www.denisemrezonia.com, DENISEMREZSONYA.com. Thank you so much.